Hello everyone, it's Yummy. I'm back again with another Meta Weekly report for Meta Weekly number 36. I may or may not be doing these every week, I'm not sure. So far I've done them, like 2 times now. I kind of wanted to keep track of these to kind of gauge my progress in this game. Maybe see if I'm getting any better, study my replays, kind of study like my misplays and stuff like that. Maybe if I get anywhere good in Duel Links, I can look back on these videos and be like, Yummy, what were you doing? Why did you play this way? But here's to hoping, you know? Here's to hoping that I can improve in this game in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, it'll be like the same deal. I'm just gonna talk about the decks and then talk about my review of the tournament, obviously, all that good stuff. So yeah. So I went into the Meta Weekly with a vampire deck. And this is actually Wayne's vampire deck that won the MCS. I net decked it. Thanks, Wayne. I really enjoy it. I think that this build works a little bit better for me because I really didn't like simultaneous loss before. I felt that when I was running simultaneous loss, I found that I was running out of like graveyard fuel or vampire fuel a lot because Vampire Kingdom also requires you to send something to the graveyard for the destruction effect to activate. So I just didn't really like it. The difference with Wayne's build is he has a lot more monsters in this deck. And he has econs which work really well. You can actually just econ take a Vampire Familiar if you can special summon it to the field. And this deck also has Cyber Style. Oops. Cyber Style. You get free monsters basically for every 1,000 life points that you lose, and that can also be used for econ takes or just a free monster on the field. A tribute summon maybe. That's why I think this build works so well. It's what won him the MCS. It's a great build. Again, thanks Wayne. And thanks DuelLinksMeta.com because I net decked this. The other one is the same old, you know, hero deck that I always run. 3 mass changes, 3 Ankies, 1 poly, 1 D-draw. What I could test out in the future maybe is using a Dreamer. Although I don't really use it because I don't know, like, that's, to me, it's like, I think heroes, I want to play it a lot more quickly, and Dreamer is kind of that monster that just kind of buys you another turn, which could help, but I don't know, I like the D-draw version better, who knows, maybe I'll change it, maybe I won't, whatever. So yeah, I'll go into some replays. I think really wrecked me in this tournament. I think this is the replay, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay, it is. So I was playing heroes, and Chewy was playing Amazons. And the thing about heroes is that they really suck against Amazonists. Because their monsters if your heroes get banished, your mass change is basically dead. So he opens up with Princess, gets an Onslaught in his hand. In my starting hand, I had a D-draw, a mass change, and a Cosmic Cyclone. What I did here was I just set the other one. I don't really know why. I thought maybe I could have just ended up using Destiny Draw next turn. So I just set it just in case. I figured, oh, I'd probably just draw another monster. I ended up topping a Treacherous Trap Hole. And that's where I screwed up because I could have set it this turn in preparation for the next turn, and then I could have, you know, gotten rid of their monsters or whatever. I had a Cosmic Cyclone already. So I just would, you know, plan on chaining that Cosmic Cyclone to the Onslaught, which I did. But I think that's where this kind of screwed me because I just relied too much on being able to use D-draw next turn, which I shouldn't have. The Treacherous, I think, would have bought me a little bit more time. Yeah, I mean, that was my mistake, but get a mass change in my hand, or yeah, it was set. Go for 1600 damage. They Paleozoic my Anki, and Anki's got small defense. He's got 1200 defense. You never want to summon Anki in defense for whatever reason, unless you're scared of an econ or something. But yeah, at that point it was just, you know, I didn't have any monsters left. I had a Treacherous. Used Treacherous Trap Hole. They had an Amazoness Willpower, and, you know, I just activated Chalice to kind of show the cards I had face down. Whatever. This is, this couple rounds of duels is between me and Light Yagami 5. It was the last round of the Meta Weekly, and I think at this point, I think this is the second game. Or maybe it's the first game. I don't know. I didn't save all 3 replays, that's for sure. Because I don't like to save the losses, because I'm too proud. Anyways, so he opens up, sets 3 back row. And I figure he didn't open with a princess, so I'm in a pretty good spot. I go ahead and activate D-Draw. I send the Celestial to set up for next turn, and I drew 2 mass changes, and I was so stoked. But I activate Vion's effect to get a Poly in my hand, and then I just end up using Dangerous for this turn. Tie That Binds. I have 2 mass changes and a Chalice, so I could OTK, but he has 3 back row. So I go in for that Anki, and he has a Widespread Ruin. To which, I don't know, like, I could have probably just let that go through and not chained a mass change to it. But because I didn't set the second mass change, and I had thought with myself about this too, I didn't know if I should have set the second mass change. I kind of got a little bit greedy here by going 2 Ankis in 1 turn, and he has 3 back row. But, you know, I chained the mass change just because I didn't want to not have a monster on the field, but that probably wasn't the best play. I think I got a little too scared about, like, somehow getting, I don't know, killed next turn or in a really bad spot. So I chained the mass change, and then, like I said earlier, you never want to summon Anki in defense, but because it was a chain, I figured Widespread Ruin, if I had chained the mass change, it would have still destroyed the Anki if I summoned it in attack position, because it says when an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the attack position monster with the highest attack. I thought if I just summoned the second Anki, it would have got destroyed. Again, maybe I should have, like, let that through, and then just kept the mass change and the Chalice in my hand in hopes of me drawing another monster. Again, you know, just got a little greedy, went a little crazy. Maybe I should slow down when I'm playing heroes. He tops a princess, gets the onslaught in his hand. He can't swing over the Anki though, so I'm feeling pretty okay about that. He got a tiger on the field, and then I topped a Vion, sent a Malicious. So now I swarm the board with 3 monsters on the field. I ended up setting the Chalice that was in my hand just to activate Celestial's effect. Maybe I could have been able to draw another mass change. But I set a Treacherous instead, and then I just went for direct with Anki, and then I have the Chalice for damage steps. So that worked out really well for me. Again, yeah, I think I got a little too greedy there. Maybe I should have just played it a little bit more conservatively. This one was really scary because DK'd end up spectating it. And when I get spectated, I get really nervous. And I was watching the stream while I was playing this. And I ended up just ripping out my headphones. As soon as I heard Yummy Bakura, I was like, I'm not listening to this. I'm not watching this. Not gonna, like, really read the chat or anything. So I open with Kazuki, send a retainer. I think he's playing SSA for hires. So I just go for the field spell. I don't activate Retainer's effect because I want to keep the Grace in my hand for next turn. But I set a simultaneous loss. So the second he summoned something and I saw it was a for hire, I was like, I need to get rid of that beat right now. Because if he makes any plays at all, for hires are so strong when they have 3 monsters on the field. I was just like, I don't want to play against this. This sucks. So there goes simultaneous loss. I milled a Treacherous Trap Hole. The luck of that. I can't believe that happened because I mean, who knows? I didn't even know if he was running another treacherous, whatever, but I got the treacherous. There's a trap in his graveyard now, so if he has another one, it's dead. So he just ends up using Mayhem for hire, but it's in defense now, so I'm feeling pretty okay. He got a Dyna on the field, ended up banishing my monsters, and I was pretty upset about that because the way vampires work, you know, you want to get their graveyard effects. So he swings. I end up special summoning Grace from my hand with Gazuki's effect, and I summoned it in defense in case that he had an econ for econ takes or whatever, even though it was probably in the end phase. Okay, and then I tap a vampire takeover, activate the effect. This is where I think I saw the chat and I glanced over a little bit, and Mordecai was like, "You should have called trap." And my line of thinking during this duel was, I don't want any monsters for Wiz to negate, and I don't want any monsters to be special summoned onto the field because I was worried about like Donpa's effect, Seal, all of this stuff. Like, I wanted to get rid of the monsters as quickly as I could because I knew that once the SSA and the Wizzes were on the field, it would have been really, really hard to play around. So the more that I would have gotten rid of monsters, the less chances that Wiz would have had to negate anything, and I was planning on just, you know, hoping that he would just banish his monster instead of trying to negate something, and that was more important to me. So I activate that effect, destroy the back row. That was a C stealth attack, so now I have one of those C stealth attacks. Again, yeah, I probably should have called trap with Grace, but whatever. End up summoning Vamp in this position just to grab that Dyna because that Dyna would have probably killed a good amount of my monsters. 2500 attack is a pretty strong monster, so I just ended up using Vamp here to get it to 4500 so that he couldn't actually swing into anything during the battle phase. Even though Dyna's run at 1, I just wanted to take it anyways. So at this point, he gets a beat, and then he gets a Wiz on the field and activates all these effects. And this part caught me off guard so bad. He goes in to attack with beat, and he activates Super Rush Headlong, which I have never seen in For Hires ever in my life. I see Super Rush Headlong in Onslaught. I mean, in Amazonas, sorry, but never in For Hires, and that like kind of caught me off guard, so that sucked. Anyway, Vamp's effect, you can special summon from the graveyard if it was equipped with a monster. I didn't attack this turn that I drew the Grace. Didn't want to tribute summon either. I wanted to keep that Vamp on the field. I did not attack because I was afraid that maybe he had a Donpa in his hand. I knew that he had a Seal in his hand from last turn, so I didn't really want to give him that special summon and then, like, you know, he could special summon with Seal and then get a Dyna back in his hand. I did not want that to happen, so I just didn't attack. Beats effect activates, he gets another Wiz and a Seal on the field, but he goes all defense, so I figure he probably doesn't have anything good. At this point, I can just, you know, start swinging. I mill a Retainer just to prep for whatever could happen. He gets a Donpa, which sucked really bad. No pun intended. So there goes my Vamp, because Donpa's out on the field now, but he can't swing over any of my monsters. I activate Econ to bait out that Wiz negate, because it's once per turn. And it, you know, it ended up working out for me. So I activate Grace's effect to destroy that Wiz. Either way, I think if he had let the Econ through, that Wiz would have been destroyed. So it didn't really matter. And then I swing into the Donpa for 2000 damage. He has a negate in his hand, so I'm not like, you know, I'm not thinking that this is gonna go through because he has a negate in his hand and he has a Wiz on the field. So sure enough, he negates that. And at this point, I'm thinking he's gonna run out of monsters at some point. This Grimson in the graveyard, this was the last vampire that I had. it was the last monster to activate Vampire Kingdom's effect, and I knew it too, and I was like, if I just keep declaring things with grace, eventually this guy's gonna run out of negates, and he's gonna have no choice but to banish his Wiz. So I have a simultaneous loss in my hand, I just end up setting it. You know, I go for that Wiz with the Vampire Kingdom effect. I just ended up activating Retainer, and it was game. So that ended up working for me. I hope that these duels are entertaining to you. They're sure fun for me to play. I love the meta weekly. It's very different from the ladder in that it's just it's not really like the MCS where everyone's like super crazy because they're not fighting for like 2 grand or whatever, but it's still competitive. People are still playing all of these meta decks and they're adding in these like crazy techs, so it's like a different environment from playing PvP. And to me that's a lot more fun because I then get to play against like actual good players. I'm not saying I'm like the best player, I'm not even a good player really, but there are people on the ladder who just are actual potato, like they're just so bad. I'm sorry, some of them are just potatoes. And it doesn't help me learn anything because when I get these people who are like not really making the right plays, it's not teaching me how to be a better player. So I think surrounding myself with people who are competitive and who are very good at this game, you know, it helps me be a better player. I get to study all these plays, all these replays. I get to study what I did wrong. You know, I get to learn from others. I get to see how like different play styles work and stuff like that. They're a lot of fun for me. I don't know. And I really enjoy the Meta Weekly. So thanks Decade for always doing this every single week. I hope one day I'll look back on these videos and I've made improvements in my gameplay. I don't know. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. I will see you on Friday's stream at 4 p.m. PST. So yeah, bye.